All right, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for October 2nd, 2023. Looks like all are present and accounted for. I'll be handling the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come together to do the people's business. Lord, I pray that you grant us wisdom so that we can make decisions in the best interest of our community. Lord, please be with the men and women who put on a uniform each day and protect us here in our community, our state, and this great nation. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Y'all have received a copy of the September 18th minutes. Is there any discussion on those? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
I've got a motion. Do I hear a second? And a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. I have one public comment card from Mr. Unruh. Come on down. You have 3 minutes. If you could please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Name is Leonard Unruh, 68 Blue Mountain Drive. I've got 3 things, 2 are minor, 1 is a little bit more. The minor one is, I think it's track D that's over next to Kroger's. It needs to be mowed. You wouldn't let a person get his yard that bad. Second thing is the plastic, as I call it, around your secretary desk. Why is it there? Because Kroger's taken down theirs, our bank has taken down theirs, Walmart has taken down theirs. Third thing is, a little bit more important, I noticed and I think they're pedestrian lights that are going up on north and south, I can't remember the name. It's a good idea, but their power is by, as I understand it, is by solar. Solar, are you aware that solar requires you to clean the panels every so often? Maybe like once a year? And secondly is, what are you going to do about it if somebody hits them or a storm destroys the panel? You now have a chemical toxic waste dump on your hands. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. I believe you were talking about the pedestrian activated lights that are being installed currently?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next order of business is department reports, and we have Nicole, come on down. You're the next contestant.
Good evening. My name's Nicole Vogler. I'm your Director of Senior Services at Maumelle Center on the Lake. And I have our newsletter that we do every 2 months for y'all. I didn't know how many of y'all are members that get it, but I thought it would explain a lot of what we're doing. Miss Clerk Treasurer, can I give these to you?
Sure.
Or, okay.
Or you can just hand them to council. Okay.
Sure. Our latest newsletter, we do those every 2 months. We print those at no cost. We work with a third-party vendor, LPI, that actually prints those for us for free for the cost of advertising. They sell advertising that's sold in those. So that helps us get out more information to our members. We're currently at $15.05 for membership, and that was as of the 1st of October. We're at 89% of our highest number of membership, and that was pre-COVID. So I've got a little graphic on here, and it's post-COVID numbers. So this is for 2022 and year-to-date 23 for our cafe, our rides, our member check-ins, and our volunteer hours. And so that's I think pretty impressive. We've had 133,142 check-ins. That's member visits that are recorded. Volunteer hours, 22,902. That's pretty significant as well. Those are drivers, docents, instructors, cafe helpers that all help the center and help us keep our costs as low as we can. And there are pictures on the board there that show our volunteers, our group getting ready to travel locally, and on the bottom, I think we have our Canasta group with the biggest classroom that we could have, the smallest classroom, the biggest group we could put them in. So pretty excited about our post-COVID numbers that we have. Revenue, we are trying to find different ways to help in revenue sources. One is trips. This year we are taking 3 domestic trips. We will bring in, our last trip to Niagara Falls brought in $9,000. We had 2 buses go to Niagara Falls for a trip. We just got back from Mackinac Island. And when I say we, a fantastic staff member, Roberta, and volunteer lead the buses. They do a great job leading those buses. And then they're going to take another trip to Biltmore. So 3 trips this year. Next year, we're looking at 4 trips, 3 domestic trips, and then 1 trip to Ireland. So our members are asking for it, and that'll bring in a nice chunk of revenue to the city. And so we're super excited about that. And it also helps our members travel, if that's a goal that they would like to travel in a group and travel safely. And we also the city for next year will be partnering or is partnering with Silver Sneakers, Silver and Fit, and Optum. And those are the major insurance carriers, so we are going to become a provider for those services. For us, that's going to mean $3 per participating member per trip each month, up to $20 per participant each month. And that's going to be we think that's going to be a significant chunk. We're going to be sending out information on that. What's exciting is that's going to give our residents the opportunity to be at the center at no cost to the resident, but then be a revenue source for the city. And super excited about that possibility too. As I mentioned, the volunteer hours, we've got a great volunteer program. We could not do the services that are provided at the center with just staff alone without the help of volunteers. So I definitely want to, I don't want to not mention that because that's a huge part of what we do as well. And we're always looking for ways that we can partner in the community and help our 50-plus crowd do more and do better and age in place.
Thank you very much. Were there any questions? Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you that I've never heard a complaint really about what you all do over there. And everybody I talk to seems to be very impressed with what's offered and all that stuff. And I just wanted to ask you, there's that one big room that we've had some, I guess, memorial services and stuff like that. Does that room stay very occupied? Do you all have a lot of events at night or anything like that?
As far as in the evening, we have several events that occur in the evening. We've got a traumatic brain injury group that's now meeting at the center with their support groups. That's outgrown a smaller room, so they're going to be placed in a larger room. We have different community groups that meet with us. We have line dancing, a social group that meets weekly. AARP meets with us. So we do have groups that meet with us in the evenings and as well as members that are coming in the evening.
Okay, those evening sessions, do they pay some rent or something like that? Or?
If it's a class, a lot of our classes generate a small amount of revenue. Yeah. Our members pay $135. A resident pays $135 to be a resident gold member, which would be those after-hour members. Versus a resident silver resident paying $35 an hour for that membership. So they do pay an additional cost.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not that interested in making revenue off of it. I'm just looking to see it's utilized by residents and
Sure.
and people have time to use it. So that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, speaking of revenue, Nicole, you and your department, but primarily led by you, has really picked up the torch when we talked about trying to find ways to increase revenue within your department. And just for the edification, she does a tremendous job of looking at alternate ways to generate revenue. And so she mentioned a few of those services that you've been pushing for years now, I think?
Yes, sir, the service provider contracts, this is the third try to do this. Third try is a charm. The actual contracts were a little bit easier, the terms in the contracts, as well as just time. So we're super excited. We do anticipate that to not only provide more service to the members, because they'll have ability to be all our members at no cost, it'll generate, we anticipate generate a good amount of revenue to the center and to the city.
Yeah, and I should have been a little bit clearer. The goal has not been like, how can we just raise our rates or get more money from the current people for the current services? It's alternate ways of approaching the problem, generating additional services, and the like. So good job with that. Council Member Shin.
I just want to, we attended a community meeting over there. We're there about once a month. And because of interaction with one of your staff members in a tour, because we were early, my wife is in your 5:15 exercise class now on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Oh,
And
good.
we're now members. And I just wanted to compliment your staff on the fact that they were prepared at 6:30 to give a tour and explain what all we could get.
Thank you, I
very much.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there's nothing further, thank you, Ms. Vogler.
Thank you.
With that, we will move on to Planning Commission report, which was Council Member Gardner.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple of items. Y'all may remember the Fountain Blue development, which is going to be a commercial project located in front of the Country Club of Arkansas. It's on the side opposite of where the condos have been, the townhomes have been built. That was approved to have a two-phase plan. Basically, they will build half of it, build it out, get it leased, and then if the economic conditions warrant, they will continue the second phase. So that was approved. And then the other item that was given a due pass recommendation was a code amendment that will come to us soon for changes to how preliminary plats are approved. Just kind of cleaning up some language and making it consistent with the way the city operates. So stay tuned, it will come to us soon.
Thank you, sir. That brings us to item 9, procedural motion. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We'll move on to unfinished business. The first item of unfinished business is the third reading of ordinance 1097, amending the notification procedure. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1097, an ordinance amending the notification procedure for certain planning and permit applications and for other purposes.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve ordinance 1097?
We've got a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1097. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Ordinance 1097 is adopted. With that, we will move on to new business. The single item of new business is Resolution 2023-29, amending the 2023 general fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-29, a resolution to amend the 2023 general fund budget.
All right, just a little bit of an update. I tried to include as much of this as I could in the preamble, the whereas clauses. Y'all may recall that we budgeted $600,000 this year for pickleball courts. I came back to the city council in April and brought an alternate idea. The original budget was only for asphalt courts. This was to upgrade that and move them to the post-tension concrete. And that was after discussions with Parks and Rec and really looking at what makes a high-quality court and a low-maintenance court and a long-lasting court. At that time, we had about 60% plans, and we had estimated that the total cost would be approximately $850,000, or $250 more than was budgeted. There was a motion, and the council approved that motion to continue with design of post-tension concrete. That project is now completely engineered. We put it out for bids. We received 4 bids, which is more than we've received in other projects recently. And the cost came in at $919,000 was the low bid, and the high bid was about $150,000 more than that. Also in those designs, Parks and Rec volunteered to install some benches, shade structures, and some of the things that they're good at doing because they know that they can do it for cheaper than if we were to have the contractor do it. But that would require us to approve the money for the additional contract amount, plus approve the money to purchase the equipment, because we still have to purchase the shade structures and the like. And so that would bring the total project to $999,950. Not a number arbitrarily chosen. That was just the way it worked out. I looked it up. But so I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. If there is none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-29.
I think we have a discussion.
Was there a motion? No. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, let's see, where do we stand? Do we have 5 or 7 courts?
This is 7 courts, post-tension concrete. They're also grading and doing a little bit of site prep for a potential 8th court. Really, and I'm going to mess this up, the pickleball courts, according to the Pickleball Design Bible, which actually exists, really wants the courts to be north-south so that one player doesn't have a competitive advantage in the morning and afternoon with the sun. The 8th court, in order to make it fit, would be a north-south court. All the other 7 courts are, I said that wrong. The 8th court, which is not being built, but the site prep is an east-west court. All the others are north-south. Did I say that right, Philip? Okay, thank you. I've confused them. So it's 7 courts with the opportunity, if we want in the future, to add an 8th court.
All right. And where are they going to be? Are they going to be where those old tennis courts were? I cannot remember.
Behind the community center.
Yeah.
So a lot of the issues we have there is drainage. If you go out now, there's the tennis courts or basketball courts, kind of an archaeological dig. There's a ton of drainage issues in that area that we had to work on and build detention. And so a decent portion of this project is actually drainage issues.
Okay. Is it going to be hard to get you have to dig up the old tennis courts, the cement and all that?
I would assume so, yeah, because they're going to have to do all the site work on it, but all of that is included in the bid price.
Oh, okay, that's part of that
Yes.
deal. All right. How much, this is another, this is $400,000, I guess we're going to have to do to keep everything intact. Where do we stand on all the money we got from COVID? I mean, we kind of in our minds put aside, or actually, as you said, we appropriated funds or whatever, to do the pickleball courts and the Maumelle Mile, and I think the food truck park. And I was just wondering, does this break us out of the funds that we kind of had in our minds that were COVID funds?
I don't have those numbers. I was talking with Beatrice earlier today about keeping track of those. Those aren't accounted for in our software the way everything else is. It's actually just a basic spreadsheet. And we were going over that and making sure that, well, not going over it, making sure that she was keeping up with that. but I don't have what those numbers were. I had meant to pull up the financial report to look at the overall budget, but I only have the actual one exported from OpenGov available right now.
Okay. Does this 400,000, would it kind of jeopardize anything as far, does it make the budget tighter? Are we
Well, so
overgoing, or are we okay?
I think we're pretty good. Beatrice, I was watching the council meeting since I missed the last one right before coming in here, and she was talking about revenues continue to be up. The general fund, I don't have the exact number, but we're still very far, very much ahead of the ordinance 438 requirements, which is 20% of our annual revenue. I think we were up, I don't remember, it was fairly high.
Okay.
Arguably too high. In that we're sitting on a lot. That said, we've got a number of projects that are kind of in queue in there.
Okay, that's what I wanted
And
to
we're
hear.
talking 400,000, but I think it's important to note that we kind of talked about 250,000 in April, and everyone was kind of on board with that. We didn't run a budget resolution, and I think I said, because I have not ever encountered an early engineer's estimate that was even accurate to the 100%. So I didn't want to come ask for 250,000 and then be sitting here again asking for more, because I was pretty sure it was going to go over that. So we kind of implicitly, unanimously approved 250. So maybe the decision then is that extra 150,000, and that does have a 5% contingency added on top of that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, that's all I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner?
Does this include landscaping cost, additional, I'm trying to think of the placement of this by the community center. Was there going to be additional parking at the end, or is there sufficient parking at the community? I think there is sufficient parking, but there were some modifications I think we were going to make to some of that. Is that included in this?
It includes the landscaping within the projects, fencing, lighting, shade structures, benches, all of those things. We did not impact the parking lot area. We had at one time talked about a sort of drive-through drop-off queue, and as we started looking at that, for those that drop your kids off at school, I take mine to charter school. It takes numerous staff to keep that line moving fast. We got concerned that if no staff was there, that sort of drive-through drop-off lane that was so short would just be more hassle than it's worth. We're not impacting the parking spots that are already there, though.
Gotcha.
And there is sufficient parking for this.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-29.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Resolution 2023-29 is adopted, and Deb is going to send that document off. Okay. With that concludes new business. We'll move on to mayor's comments. I wanted to give a super brief update. We just mentioned pickleball. I think this is kind of an exciting time right now. We have a lot of projects that are underway, just getting underway, or movement starting to happen. And so I wanted to mention a few of those. Asphalt is being laid on Crystal Hill Trail, on Crystal Hill for the trails today. We've heard a lot about those trails. The asphalt was actually being laid today. I don't know how far they got. I haven't been out there at the end of the day. So that's there. We have equipment on site for White Oak Crossing Roundabout finally. I was hoping they would proceed as quickly as the all-inclusive playground did when they broke ground. For those that don't know, the contractors were literally on site waiting for us to finish our ceremonial groundbreaking ceremony so they can begin work. It hasn't moved that quick, but we are on a 270-day timeline that began ticking on September 5th. And they now have all their equipment and staging, and we've been in contact with them. If you haven't had a chance to go look at the all-inclusive playground being installed, that's really coming along thanks to the contractors, but Philip and his crew have been out there in this project. Like the pickleball, they're doing a number of things themselves to keep the cost down. So there's that. And I just wanted to let you know, as I have let her know in the past, but I can't tell you how much of an asset Deb Roush has been to the mayor's office. She's really doing a great job in moving projects along quickly and aggressively, and all of that. And my office is cleaner and more organized than it has ever been, even when I try not to keep it quite that organized. So I just wanted to give you a shout out, Deb. Keep doing a good job. With that, we can move on to council member comments. Councilmember Gardner.
Since you're on the update train, can you tell us about the park on Millwood, kind of where that stands? I know it's kind of been the food truck park.
The Gateway Park.
Yeah, Gateway Park, yes,
That
yes.
is under engineering, so that, you'll recall, we first kind of did a community planning process, and that is going through engineering right now. The civil engineering for that is underway. We are on a parallel track handling the removal of the building. We had the phase 1 environmentals done for the removal of the police and fire and courts building, is what I'll say. We will need to do some mitigation, but we're proceeding with that process sort of separately from the engineering, so that when we finally have an engineered and bid project, we're not then beginning the process of getting the building ready to be torn down. Councilmember Shin?
Back to the playground, do we have an estimated date that we get to cut the ribbon?
No, I've asked Mr. Rayburn that question all the time, and he's asking folks. We do not yet.
Okay.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask you if your Chief of Staff, Ms. Roush, if she has been working on the Crystal Hill thing, because I've been getting favorable comments from Ms. Watkins here lately.
Yes, very much so. In fact, yeah, we're going to give her an office out there, just about. She's doing an awesome job keeping up with all of that. The asphalt's laid, I believe. In fact, why don't you come tell us what's going on in Crystal Hill, Deb? Be ready. Not you, them.
Oh, hi, thank you, thank you for asking me up here. Yes, we've been spending quite a bit of time up there, but just because things are coming together, which is nice. So, have been working with Roy and, what's his last name? I always just call him Roy.
Andrews.
Andrews, yeah, and from the engineering company. And what we found out was that there was a sprinkler line that ran along the one side near the neighborhood that's, of course, up the bank there, that had the trouble. And they were kind of upset about that, but we met out there. We met with the POA president. She's very happy with what our plan is. We're going to get that repaired. It's already underway. The right people are working on it. There's another resident out there, Mr. Wells. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him. He lives next to Park on the River. He's got that long driveway. He's been a staple in the community, teaches at Catholic High School, has been there a long time. He's been very patient, but his mailbox and his gate and his reflective, whatever he has, his reflector things up there, had been damaged. And so they've been out there, they met with him, that's getting taken care of. Miss Watkins' mailbox should be repaired, I think, by now. Bob Osborne's fence, we got that after reminding them day after day after day after day after day after day. That got fixed. So he's happy with that fence. All that's left to do there is a gate. So he had a gate, and when they put the fence back, he had a big white fence along, that's that property by the river. They replaced the fence, but the contractors put like fence here, and he had a gate, but now the gate is small and there's space on either side. So they're having to go back and fix that gate. But the good thing is, Mr. Osborne is fine with that. They're just gonna go and add a little bit more fencing to it. It'll look a little bit different than it's supposed to, but he's okay with it. So they're coming back out to do that. I think that's it. I think that's where we're at with it. So we're pretty close to being able to be finished with the project. It's close to punch list time. So that sprinkler is gonna be the last thing. So, does anybody have any questions?
No, that's a very good report, thank you.
Okay.
Now, when you say that, I'll get a text message, I imagine, in an hour where she said, darn it, I forgot to mention this whole thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilmember Gardner?
Was lighting included on the street?
We have the lighting replacement that was there. There wasn't there was some lighting on the poles that when the poles were relocated, the lighting went down and it's not standard lighting. Entergy is looking at, that's gonna be a whole different route, because they're the ones installing that, so.
I thought at one point we were looking at median lighting.
At one point, we were looking at median lighting, yeah. I think the median lighting was pulled during the design phase under concerns that it would create light pollution for the residents that kind of overlook the river. It would create a big light, a bunch of light in between them and the river, and sort of then make it so that evenings weren't as desirable. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I've got about 3 things here, but the first one I wanted to mention was, I had a longtime resident come up to me the other day. She and her husband have lived out here since, I think, 1983. And I've been here since 1986. But she was here to be involved when the city became a city. We actually became a city, I think, in 1984 or 5.
85.
85. And one of the gentlemen that led that effort was is named Mike Russ. In fact, he ended up being the first ceremonial mayor of Maumelle. And he lives just outside of Maumelle, over on the other side of 365. I think he's up on the ridge somewhere. But anyway, this lady asked if we couldn't have kind of a 40-year anniversary of Maumelle becoming a city, and perhaps featuring, and it doesn't have to be a big deal, but it would be nice to let him have some kind of a venue, or ask him to come and give us a history of how that transpired. And from what I understand, it was a real close call that we almost got taken over by North Little Rock, and that would have been a very different situation. So I think it would be intriguing. I have never actually heard anybody from that group that got together and made this happen. And maybe we could have it there at Ms. Vogler's big room or something like that, let him speak. And
we do plan to do something for that. I believe Clerk Timmons has mentioned that a few times, as she's a bit of a history buff when it comes to the area and city. We were, as has Courtney a few times, there was a big scare. Someone on Facebook made this big push about we were coming up and didn't celebrate the 40-year anniversary, and we're like, no, that's in 2025. We plan on doing something. We've been looking at the eclipse stuff, but yes, we'll definitely be doing something to celebrate 40 years. To what extent, I don't know. That would be a decent idea.
Okay, thank you. Also wanted to I talked to the auditors today and just asked them for a quick update on what was going on. They said that, talked to Mr. Coleman. He said they got a real quick turnaround on the documents that they requested at their last, their 9/15/23 request. They got that within 2 weeks from Ms. Souza. They were pleased at that. And he said, I asked him about the ACFR. He said that is still in limbo. If I understood him right, he said it was 1/2 to 3/4 of the way done, is how he described it. And so he said that they would be finishing it up. And I said, well, are you going to need some more money? And he said, hopefully not a whole lot, is what he said. So I have a feeling that we may have a resolution coming eventually here.
He said, if I may chime in and add
yes,
to
go
that,
right ahead.
He said, so they're supposed to be looking at how far it is and how much time they think, extra time or unanticipated time that they'd need, and will get us a quote on that. If there's anything that's not in the budget, we will bring it back to the city council. But he still seems to he said a few weeks, even with the amount of, the sort of finishing off the aquifer. He thinks that when they're looking at it, and he's thinking in terms of weeks. So I normally double people's estimates and, for that. But so even with them taking over and finishing the aquifer, they're thinking weeks, not months. But I feel like I've reported that to y'all before, so.
He mentioned the same thing to me. He said, we really need to kind of get this wrapped up as soon as we can. They had some other client obligations coming up here at the end of the year, so he said, we've got to get it finished up. And, anyway, he said, yeah, I asked him, are you going to have to go back to ground zero to do this? And he said, no, we're going to use what we've been given, and we'll finish it up from there. So, anyway, it's moving along, I guess. And that's all I had to report on that. And I wanted to ask one other thing here. We talked about the fiber optic situation and all that stuff, the utility situation out there in Ward 4. What have you guys thought about that? Do you want to do a moratorium? I didn't want to make a motion to do that without you all kind of being on board with that.
Honestly, okay, as I said before, those people have been tormented for over a year.
Yeah.
But this crew really is far and above the crew that came through my neighborhood. So I really don't see a moratorium. It's just we have to get through it. Because honestly, if they don't have that internet 2 years from now, their houses aren't gonna be worth what mine's worth.
Okay.
Because in the future, honestly, it's all about the internet. It isn't about the cable. It isn't about the phones. Our future's there unless it goes to 5G. So I don't see a moratorium personally, because the crew that's out there now, they're putting grass down about every 2 weeks. We've never had a crew come in and put down grass. Sometimes they never put down grass, or it was dead when they put it down.
Right.
I really feel these people are trying, though, like I say, they've had open trenches left by the power company. They've had other things torn up by AT&T. And the gas companies come through there and done things. And so I understand the difficulties of what they've been through, but it's part of living in the old part of town. We've got to have the updates. So
Good.
I just don't see the moratorium. The people that I've talked to are the same people that were having issues a year ago. But a year ago, it was with Entergy, and now it's with this company, and there's been one company in between. So for the sake of the community, I think we need to keep doing what we're doing. That's my personal opinion.
All right. Anything different from Mr. Holt? Any additional thoughts? Okay.
I haven't tried to explore it. I'm one of those people that if I.
Mr. Holt, could you pull your microphone down?
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Thank you,
apologize.
sir.
Right, I was just saying, I haven't explored it. It's just one of those things I hear a lot about, and I've not been involved in it at all.
Okay.
I've been over there since the last meeting again, so.
Yeah, in fact, somebody told me they had seen you over there or whatever, so thank you for doing that. City Attorney Thornton, would it even be possible to do a moratorium, or have you thought about that? You probably had some red flags and maybe thought about it a little bit.
I've thought about it a little bit. I did talk with Mr. Grummer about it for a minute before today's meeting. I'd have to go back and check our franchise agreement and the ordinances. To be honest, my first thought was the same thing that Council Member Shin brought up, which is that you're going to have a whole class of residences. It might be a whole neighborhood. It might be multiple neighborhoods that are going to be disadvantaged when their houses go up to market again.
Okay.
Because the next set of buyers are going to be looking for fiber optics and so forth.
So I guess what I'm hearing too is just that I guess the other newer neighborhoods have more of this fiber optic than.
No, sir. So I was gonna jump in. These are this is not a problem targeting any particular neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's a problem that is targeting every neighborhood from the wealthiest neighborhoods in Maumelle to the biggest homes to the smallest homes. And it is impacting them all. Where I'm seeing more consternation maybe about that is from folks in older neighborhoods, especially those that have lived there for an extended period of time and said, this isn't the way it used to be, why is it this way now? Things like the pedestal boxes, those eyesores, are popping up in neighborhoods that they haven't been in, but they've been in some of the nicer neighborhoods for a long time and people have just got accustomed to them there. So when you install that new technology that is already existing in some places in one form or another in a neighborhood where they don't exist, it's new, it looks more like an eyesore. People aren't used to planting bushes around them or putting the fake rocks on them and that sort of stuff. So it's impacting the entire city. Something interesting also is this is not a new problem. That is boring crews hitting lines. This is a problem that has existed at least since before I got here. The difference is we're seeing such widespread installation. It's being installed everywhere all the time that it's rising to our attention a lot more. Back before the influx of money into the installation of fiber optic, companies were still running lines, replacing lines, hitting utilities at the same rate. It just was happening to one neighborhood and then no other neighborhood. So as people sort of started talking about it, it didn't seem like as big of an issue. I do want to point out something, Mr. Shin, that you said, and that's the company is doing well, and they are, but a lot of that is due to the incredible amount of work and framework that Scott and his team has done, that Public Works is doing. The system that they developed to monitor and keep track of what's going on and to hold the contractors accountable is really why they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. We've got a team that is vigilantly on them. And I would say to this, if the goal is to ever get fiber optics in, let's do it while our crew is sharp, on the ball, dealing with it day in and day out, as opposed to pausing it and then coming back at a later time once everyone's attention has kind of gone elsewhere and we've forgotten some of the lessons that we learned. If it's going to be installed, I think it ought to be. We don't want pockets of town that don't have fiber optic internet, and so when you're buying a home, you're like, can't live over there, but I can live over here. The time to do it is while we've got people on the ball and sharp, is my thoughts on it.
Thank you for that. Mr. Grummer, have anything to add? If not, I'm going to back off because I think we've had that discussion. So
it is a problem. I think they're doing a great job monitoring them to the extent we can. This is nothing like when we had a $25 permit. You came in, it was rubber stamped, and go have fun. It is a process that has been built as rapidly as we could while we're learning how to do it, but I think they've done a great job, and it's not without flaws, right? We all know that, but it's being done to the extent we can possibly do it. They're doing a really, really good job at it.
okay. Thank you all very much. Appreciate the discussion.
Councilmember Shin?
I want to back up what you just said with Scott. Every time I've reached out to him concerning whether in the last 2 years about this, he's responded to me usually within 2 hours. And then I see the follow-up email out to the people the next day. And so, yes, he and his department are doing a fine job.
Thank you, sir. Any additional council member comments? Did I see a button pop up? No. City attorney comments? No, sir. City clerk comments? No. All right, if there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn the city council meeting of October 2nd, 2023.
We've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes. Yes. All opposed, no. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you for your service.